You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. Today, we got the opportunity to talk with the man himself, Scott Melbye. How you doing today?
Daryl, it's always great to be with
Yes.
you, and it's exciting times in the uranium space, and at Rick Rule we have so many uranium and resource investors. It's really great to be here this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So we normally take a high, whenever we talk, we take a high level view on uranium and everything. And so you have uranium royalty, you know, and so what is happening there? Are you all getting some new deals done? What's happening with uranium royalty right now?
Well, obviously with the strength in the uranium price and the real structural deficit and geopolitics driving the uranium price higher, it's really having a positive impact on our portfolio. So as we sit today, uranium royalty has 21 interest on 19 mines and projects around the world. A number of which, when we launched in December of 2019, mines tended to be on standby around the world. Now we're seeing them restart and ramp up to full production. We have interest in world-class mines like McArthur River and Cigar Lake, which are not only back in production but ramping up to full 18 million pounds a year production or even more. And so that directly impacts our royalty interests. We have other mines starting up in the United States that we have interests in. Langer Heinrich in Namibia is a royalty counterparty. So that's exciting. The existing portfolio, we expect to cash flow $10 million annually by 2027, $20 million by 2030, and $50 million by 3 years after that. And what's important is all that revenue comes with no cash outlay from us. All those interests are already in place. That's the beauty of royalty investing. On the new business, lots of new mines need to be financed and built to close the structural deficit. So we're very active looking and meeting with counterparties in Africa, Australia, Canada, the US to see if we can provide them financing in exchange for a royalty or stream that then our shareholders benefit from that in the portfolio.
Yeah, that's a lot going on there. So we have, last year we had a supply crunch when Kazakhstan said that they weren't going to be able to meet their production goals for 2024.
Right.
What's your outlook on production and how much uranium's coming out of the ground and for going into 2025? I mean, we're about halfway through the year. There was a ban on Russian uranium and such. Like, how are all of these factors impacting supply right now?
Yeah, we're in a structural deficit in 2025, about a 40 million pound deficit to what the world consumes each year. We've been in a deficit for many years in that regard, but it didn't matter in the past because we had so much overhang of inventories and secondary supplies that, producers not meeting their production guidance didn't matter in the past. But you see how everyone hung on Kazatomprom's results and Cameco's results. The reason being is we need every pound that's expected to be produced coming into the market, and we need new mines to be brought on time. And try to close that gap. So Kazatomprom's an interesting one. They're the world's largest producer. I think there's a lot of focus on whether they produce 45, 55, 65 million, whatever it is. I'm more focused on the Chinese and Russian influence in that country. The Russians now control half of the production in Kazakhstan, being in the penalty box, if you will, with sanctions and bans around the world. They need those mines in Kazakhstan and the oil and gas from Kazakhstan more than they ever did. China, the fastest growing nuclear program in the world, is quickly consolidating the other half that the Russians don't control. So I think in the West, whether it's Europe, United States, Canada, I don't think we can really count on Kazakhstan 5 years from now. I think it's all going to be headed to China and Russia. So again, points to stable jurisdictions, US, Canada, Australia, and that's where uranium royalty it wants to be the capital provider to those mines that are going to come up and fill needs in the West going forward.
And so domestically, what is the mines and the production looking like domestically? So obviously, one of the issues is, with globalization is that we did give a lot of even a lot of the enriched uranium was coming out of Russia and such. And so what does this look like domestically?
It's interesting because after the breakup of the Soviet Union, we welcomed Russia into the global fuel markets. But kind of similar to what we did with rare earth and critical minerals with China, we grew over-reliant on Russia, and that was the mistake. We get 50% of our uranium in the United States for 20% of our electricity from Russia, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. The enrichment side is about 20-25%. And so when the invasion of Ukraine happened and the calls for a ban and eliminating those Russian imports, it really has highlighted that vulnerability. And now we need to get back up in production. And as head of the Uranium Producers of America, I'm quite proud to say that 6 of our member companies have now either restarted uranium production in the United States or are in the process. Like my other company, Uranium Energy Corp, is restarting the mine in Wyoming next month, and then restarting and starting up our Burke Hollow operations in Texas in the second half of next year. So right things are happening. We've had positive policy success with the Nuclear Fuel Security Act and the Russian ban passing in Congress on bipartisan measures. We see the strong market prices. I'm confident that we'll get off that Russian addiction. It's just we need to do it very quickly to not be cut off the other way by Putin.
Yeah, for sure. And so there was some recent events where the White House had some event around nuclear energy. We've seen some positive policies being passed. Anything else you foresee coming down the pipeline?
Well, those policy measures, $2.7 billion in the Nuclear Fuel Security Act was directed to the revitalization of uranium conversion and enrichment in the United States. That's the government's contribution, and it's already taking the form of a request for proposals for U.S.-produced enriched uranium, which is out right now. But I think a more important part of that is the ban. The ban, knowing that companies like ours can make massive billion-dollar investments, we're not going to get undercut by Russian dumping 2 or 3 years down the road. So I think that combination of policy and market conditions really has the industry on the right trajectory, but it's not going to get back that quickly. And that's why I think prices are going to remain high and go much higher than they are today until we get global production back up to a level that we need to be. But at the same time, demand is growing faster. We see nuclear power on track to double by 2040, 2050, and there's calls to triple that. So it's a very exciting time to be a uranium investor because you're really you're investing in the clean energy transition. You're investing in just the energy demand from data centers and AI. The growth of small modular advanced reactors. Uranium is the way to kind of invest with the most torque to the nuclear green energy story.
That's good. So going forward, we see that we have these supply deficits. We see that uranium did come off its highs a little bit. Equities are starting to run again. I haven't looked at the spot price per pound. Where do you see this going, like the spot price or, you got term market, you got all these different market dynamics. Like where do you see the price of uranium go?
The uranium equities really rallied on the spot price move to 106. But there was almost a kind of a panic when it went back down into the low 80s. Well, uranium price at 85 is a really good price, but I think it spooked a lot of the weaker hands to sell off. And frankly, a lot of institutions and retail investors made huge gains in that run. But now we're seeing the spot prices consolidating and it's preparing on that next leg up, and the equities are ready to move dramatically on the back of that. And so, I see it here at this conference where a lot of investors are now, repositioning back into the uranium equity names, and because if you felt like you missed the uranium investment story, no, we're in the second inning, and I think the best gains are yet to be made going forward. So this is not a flash in the pan story. It's a decade kind of generational opportunity. So exciting times.
Yeah, for sure. So where can people find more about Uranium Royalty, Uranium Energy Corp, and even just touch base with what you all are doing.
Yeah, so uraniumenergy.com is a great source to go on our website there to see what UEC is doing in Texas, Wyoming, and Saskatchewan. Uraniumroyalty.com can give you all the information on our portfolio, our physical uranium holdings, and encourage folks to take a look at the website, and can contact me through the website if you have any deeper questions that I can answer.
All right, sounds good. I'll be sure to link to those in the description. Thank you all for joining us today. Hope that you all got some value from it. Thank you, Scott, for coming on.
Thank you. Take care.